The Shaximiao Formation, located in today's Sichuan province, China, dates to the Middle to Late Jurassic, about 165 to 160 million years ago. It preserves a rich and dynamic floodplain ecosystem that once stretched across a vast lowland basin. The landscape featured meandering rivers, shallow lakes, and seasonally flooded wetlands, bordered by dense forests of towering conifers, ginkgos, and ferns. A humid subtropical climate with monsoonal rains sustained thick undergrowth and shaped the region's hydrology and plant life. Over time, ancient rivers deposited iron-rich red and purple sandstones and mudstones, now characteristic of the formation. These sediments captured the footprints and fossils of dinosaurs and other Jurassic life that once roamed the area. Today, the Shaximiao Formation offers a striking glimpse into a lost world of deep forests, shifting waters, and ancient giants. Paleontologist Dong Zhiming made the most significant contributions to the discovery and excavation of the Shaximiao Formation. He began studying the site in 1975, after bone fragments were found in the area. At the time, the land was being cleared for a natural gas facility and vehicle park. Amid the demolition, Dong discovered numerous exposed dinosaur bone fragments scattered across the site. Jinglymodi is one of the two major subgroups of the infraclass Halostii, the other one being Halicomorphi, which contains the bowfin and icebot bowfin and their fossil relatives. The formation has yielded a remarkable diversity of fossil lungfish, particularly from the extinct genus Ceratodus. These ancient fish, known for their broad, flat tooth plates adapted for crushing hard food, thrived in the formation's complex network of rivers, lakes and floodplains. Several distinct Ceratodus species have been identified here, highlighting the ecological richness and aquatic stability of the region during the Jurassic. Their abundance suggests that freshwater habitats were widespread and long-lasting, providing ideal conditions for lungfish to diversify. Xinjiancholiidae is an extinct family of turtles known from the Lower Jurassic to the Middle Cretaceous of Asia. They have generally been interpreted as either being basal cryptodires or placed outside of crowned testudines. Sinaspideretes is an extinct genus of turtle from the late Jurassic of China. It is considered the earliest and most basal representative of the Trionychia, and is possibly the oldest known member of Cryptodira. In 2013, it was proposed that this animal and the genus Yagia are in fact one and the same. Bishanopliosaurus is notable among plesiosaurs for having lived in freshwater environments, unlike most of its marine relatives. This is supported by the fact that its fossils were discovered in the fluvial and lacustrine sediments of the Shaximiao Formation, which represent ancient rivers and lakes rather than oceans. Its presence there suggests it was adapted to life in inland freshwater ecosystems, possibly feeding on fish and small aquatic prey. This makes Bishanopliosaurus a rare example of a non-marine plesiosaur, highlighting the ecological diversity of the group. Since this ecosystem was crossed by a large river network, in addition to fish and turtles, fossils of crocodiles have also been found. Sunosuchus was a semi-aquatic crocodiliform with a long, narrow snout filled with sharp teeth, well suited for catching fish and other aquatic prey. Its body was streamlined for swimming, with strong limbs and a muscular tail that helped it navigate rivers and lakes. The structure of its skull suggests it relied heavily on ambush hunting, lying in wait just below the water's surface. Like modern crocodiles, it likely spent much of its time in the water but could also move on land when necessary. Augustinaripterus was a small to medium-sized pterosaur characterized by its slender, elongated jaws lined with sharp, pointed teeth, ideal for catching fish and small prey. Its lightweight, Hollow bones and large wings suggest it was a skilled flyer, capable of agile maneuvers over rivers and lakes. The shape of its skull and teeth indicate a diet mainly composed of fish, which it likely snatched from the water's surface or shallow waters. One of many small ornithopod dinosaurs from the Jurassic of China, there has been some speculation that Hexinlusaurus may actually represent a juvenile form of another ornithopod. Before being officially named Hexinlusaurus, this genus was briefly known under the informal name Yandusaurus. A fast-moving biped, Yandusaurus had 4 toes on each foot and 5 fingers on each hand. It had large eyes as shown by the curved jugal. The teeth, showing a unique pattern of parallel vertical ridges compared by Chinese researchers to the fingers of the hand of Buddha statues, are very asymmetrical in that the inner side is strongly worn down. The 15 maxillary teeth are largest in the middle and overlap. Comparisons between the scleral rings of Agilisaurus and modern birds and reptiles suggest that it may have been diurnal, unlike larger herbivorous dinosaurs that were inferred to be cathemeral, active throughout the day at short intervals. Because it lacks tail-stiffening interwoven bony struts, some paleontologists think it may have been a burrow dweller. Xiaosaurus was a small, lightly built herbivorous dinosaur with a slender body and long legs, suggesting it was a fast and agile runner. It had sharp, leaf-shaped teeth adapted for eating plants, likely feeding on low-lying vegetation. Its size and build indicate it may have relied on speed to avoid predators in its Jurassic environment. Xiaosaurus represents one of the many small ornithischian dinosaurs that thrived alongside larger herbivores and carnivores. Gongbusaurus, by extrapolation from the remains of possible species Wukowanensis and other basal ornithopods, was an herbivorous bipedal animal around 1.3 to 1.5 meters long. The tibia is 19 centimeters long. It would have been a strong runner. Huayangosaurus is one of the earliest and most basal stegosaurs known, exhibiting primitive features compared to its later relatives. This small, armored herbivore had a double row of plates and spikes along its back and tail, providing defense against predators. Its body was more lightly built and shorter than the famous stegosaurs like Stegosaurus, reflecting an early stage in stegosaur evolution. Huayangosaurus helped scientists understand how these plated dinosaurs first developed their distinctive armor and body shape. Bashanosaurus is one of the oldest stegosaurid dinosaurs that we know about, possibly even older than Huayangosaurus. Unfortunately, though, there is still some mystery about Bashanosaurus. The genus is based upon the partial remains of more than one individual, and also not from a fully grown adult. Therefore, information about the appearance and full size of this dinosaur are still largely speculation. Chialingosaurus was a small to medium-sized stegosaurian dinosaur characterized by a row of bony plates along its back and spikes on its tail used for defense. As one of the earliest stegosaurs, it had a relatively slender build and less developed armor compared to later species. Its herbivorous diet likely consisted of low-growing plants, which it could browse using its beak-like mouth. Gigantspinosaurus was a unique stegosaur known for its enormous shoulder spines, which extended outward from behind its neck, a feature not seen in other stegosaurs. In addition to these striking spines, it had the typical double row of plates along its back and a spiked tail for defense. Despite its name, it was relatively small compared to other stegosaurs, but its exaggerated spines likely served for display or protection. Its anatomy represents a fascinating mix of primitive and specialized traits, offering insight into the early diversification of the stegosaur lineage. As Stegosaurs go, Chungkingosaurus was towards the smaller end of the scale at 4 meters long. The hips and humerus of Chungkingosaurus seem to be quite primitive when compared to other stegosaurs. The skull is also deep, which might be a relict primitive trait, or an adaptation for supporting stronger muscles for eating tougher vegetation. The plates that run down the back and tail are arranged in plates rather than in an alternating pattern, as has been proposed for the more famous Stegosaurus. Unfortunately, however, the total number of plates is still unknown. Like with many other stegosaurs, the thagomizer on the end of the tail was composed of 2 pairs of spikes that pointed out to the sides. It is thought to have coexisted with large plant eaters and stegosaurids. It may have also been preyed upon by theropods such as Yangshanosaurus. Tuojiangosaurus was a classic stegosaur, easily recognized by the double row of upright plates running along its back and the long spikes on its tail, likely used for defense. It was a medium-sized, quadrupedal herbivore that fed on low-growing plants, using its beaked mouth to strip vegetation. Its well-preserved fossils make it one of the best-known stegosaurs from Asia, especially from the late Jurassic of China. Tuojiangosaurus showcases the full development of stegosaurian armor and is often compared to its North American relative, Stegosaurus. Yangshanosaurus was a small to medium-sized stegosaur, known from fragmentary remains found in Jurassic rocks of China. Like other stegosaurs, it had a double row of plates along its back and tail spikes for defense, though its exact arrangement is not fully understood due to limited fossil material. It likely fed on low vegetation, using its beak and small teeth to browse ferns and cycads. While its classification is still debated, it contributes to our understanding of the early diversity of stegosaurs in Asia. Like most sauropods, Abrosaurus was a quadrupedal herbivore, but it was rather small for a sauropod, not much more than 9 meters long. Its head was boxy and topped with a tall bony arch containing the nostrils. It was originally described as a camerosaurid sauropod, and while it may not turn out to be a member of that particular family, further research has indicated that it is a basal member of Macronaria, much like Camarasaurus itself. Yuzhoulong represents one of the earliest known members of Macronaria, a group of large-bodied, wide-nosed dinosaurs. Its fossils include part of the skull and vertebrae with unique anatomical features. The discovery provides new insights into the early evolution and diversification of Neosauropoda, suggesting these dinosaurs were already more diverse during the Middle Jurassic than previously thought. It also challenges the East Asia isolation hypothesis and supports an earlier and broader dispersal of sauropods. Datousaurus was about 15 meters long and herbivorous. It had a deep large skull for a sauropod. The rarity of its fossils suggests that it may not have been as social as other sauropods, which are often preserved in large numbers in a single deposit. Datousaurus and Sunosuchus were both closely related animals with similar anatomies. However, Datousaurus's elongated vertebrae gave it a higher reach and its teeth were more spoon-shaped. When first described in 1988 by Zhang Yihan, this sauropod dinosaur genus was named as Protognathes. However, it was soon realized that the name Protognathes had already been used to name a genus of beetle, so the dinosaur was renamed by George Olszewski to become Protognathosaurus in order to make it distinct from the beetle. Today, it is considered to be a dubious dinosaur genus on the grounds that it is only described from a partially preserved lower jaw. Sunosuchus was first estimated to be 11 meters long. Later and more complete finds indicated a somewhat smaller size. Published in 1989 was the discovery that the tail ended in a club, equipped on its top with 2 successive spikes formed by cone-shaped osteoderms with a length of 5 centimeters. The club was probably used to fend off predators. Its neck length indicates that Sunosuchus was a low browser. The form of its jaws is well adapted to processing large amounts of coarse plant material. It accounts for 90% of the fossils found in its ecosystem, showing it was a dominant or common member of its habitat and environment. The skulls found are mostly compressed or disarticulated, and the interpretation of the head form has varied from broad, short and deep to extremely narrow and pointed. Datousaurus is an extremely little-known sauropod that is often assigned to Brachiosauridae despite there being very few remains of the animal itself, just a partial skull and partial skeletal remains including a vertebra and a femur that might actually be from a juvenile. Yi and colleagues considered the possibility that it was based on juvenile material of a mamenchasaurid, but ultimately rejected it. The problem with Gongbusaurus is that not a lot of fossil material exists for this dinosaur, and what is known as incomplete, all factors which have led to this genus being treated as a nomen dubium by many. Whichever genus it turns out to be, as a mamenchosaur or oomysaur-like sauropod, it would have been a large, quadrupedal herbivore with a long neck. It is regarded as a medium to large-sized sauropod, with a length of around 15 meters. Mamenchosaurus was a massive sauropod dinosaur best known for its extraordinarily long neck, which could make up nearly half of its total body length. Its neck likely allowed it to browse from a wide area without needing to move its huge body, feeding on ferns, conifers, and other tall vegetation. Despite its enormous size, it likely moved slowly and relied on sheer bulk and possibly a whip-like tail for defense. Mamenchosaurus had peg-like teeth suited for stripping leaves rather than chewing, indicating it likely swallowed its food whole. Several species have been discovered in this formation, showing a surprising range of body sizes and proportions. However, not all of these species may have lived at the same time. They could represent different stages in the formation's long geological history. Their variation suggests a diverse and evolving sauropod fauna, possibly shaped by changing climates and vegetation. Some specimens show subtle differences in vertebrae structure and limb proportions, hinting at different ecological roles or evolutionary paths. The genus remains one of the most iconic and scientifically important sauropods from Jurassic Asia. Its anatomy continues to raise questions about neck function, biomechanics, and how such a structure evolved. Oomysaurus was a large, long-necked sauropod dinosaur, similar in shape to Mamenchosaurus but generally more lightly built and slightly shorter-necked. It had a long tail, sturdy limbs, and a relatively small head with spoon-shaped teeth adapted for stripping leaves from tall plants. Remarkably, more species of Oomysaurus have been discovered in the Shaximiao Formation than of any other sauropod, reflecting a high level of diversity within this single genus. These species differ in size, skull shape and vertebral features, suggesting they may have occupied slightly different ecological niches. As with Mamenchosaurus, not all Oomysaurus species necessarily lived at the same time. Some may represent evolutionary stages spread across millions of years. Xiaosaurus was a mid-sized theropod with unusually long and slightly widened jaws, possibly adapted for hunting small stegosaurs. This jaw shape may have helped it bite around the defensive plates and spines of its prey, though this idea remains speculative. Initially, it was thought to be an allosauride related to Sinraptor, but no formal cladistic analysis was done at the time. Chialingosaurus was a medium-sized, 5-meter-long theropod with megalosaurid-like teeth that had few serrations, mostly near the tips. Its neck vertebrae were short and wide, with distinctively shaped spines, and its dorsal and tail vertebrae lacked pleurocoels, suggesting a solid, compact body. The limbs featured a straight scapula, a triangular deltopectoral crest, and strongly curved hand claws, indicating it was well adapted for grasping prey. Its thigh bone and unfused metatarsals show a mix of primitive and derived traits, helping to distinguish it from other Jurassic theropods. Gasosaurus was a medium-sized theropod, measuring about 4 meters long, with strong legs, short arms and an estimated weight between 150 and 400 kilograms. Its fossil remains are fragmentary, but key skeletal features place it within Tetanuri, though its classification remains uncertain. Gasosaurus shares several traits with other Chinese theropods like Chialingosaurus, and some paleontologists have speculated they may represent the same species. Huayangosaurus to probably be related to the more complete Monolophosaurus. The partial remains are thought to be from a juvenile or a subadult individual, and coupled with the overall incomplete nature of them, it is impossible to establish an accurate size estimate for this dinosaur. Yangshanosaurus occupied a similar ecological niche in Asia to that of Allosaurus in North America, preying on stegosaurs and sauropods. It had distinctive features including a nasal horn, smaller cranial horns and ridges, and a tail that comprised half its total body length. The first specimen, measuring about 8 meters, was discovered during dam construction in Sichuan province. A second specimen found later was larger, nearly 11 meters long, showing size variation similar to Allosaurus. Not much is known about Yangshanosaurus except that the forelimbs appear to be quite large for a large carnivorous theropod. The discoverer theorized that it may have actually been quadrupedal, but this has since been refuted by other paleontologists. Sinraptor was a large, carnivorous theropod dinosaur characterized by a robust skull with sharp, serrated teeth designed for slicing through flesh. It had powerful jaws and strong neck muscles, suggesting it was an active predator capable of taking down large prey. Its body was built for strength rather than speed, with muscular legs that supported its bulky frame. The arms were relatively short but ended in sharp claws used for grasping and holding onto prey. Sinraptor had a well-developed sense of smell, indicated by its large olfactory bulbs, which helped it locate prey. Its vertebrae featured distinctive neural spines that may have supported muscles or a display structure. The tail was long and stiffened by elongated vertebrae, providing balance and stability while hunting. It likely hunted large herbivorous dinosaurs, including stegosaurs and sauropods, using ambush or short bursts of speed. Its skeletal structure shows a mix of primitive and derived traits, placing it within the Metriacanthosauridae, a group of mid-sized carnivorous dinosaurs closely related to allosaurs.